Good morning, Dhamma friends. Today our topic, coming together in unity. That's what we are going to discuss here today. Unity. Well, what does Buddhist fellowship stand for? Nobody knows. What does Buddhist fellowship stand for? By definition, Buddhist fellowship stands for unity, solidarity, companionship, friendship, and fellowship of the Buddhists. That is why it is called Buddhist fellowship. But who are the Buddhists here? Monks, nuns, male and female lay disciples of the Buddha. All these four groups come under the label Buddhists. Those founders of Buddhist fellowship, forefathers, supporters, those who started this society, they had a dream of united Buddhists, not the divided Buddhists. That is why they label the society as Buddhist fellowship. So friends, as long as we bear this name of Buddhist fellowship, we have to be united. Why? Otherwise, you are not suitable for this name. You are not upholding this label. And you are not a member of Buddhist fellowship anymore. So by definition, Buddhist fellowship stands for unity, solidarity, peace, and happiness. Now, friends, why unity is so important as Buddhist organizations? Why it is so important? Because, friends, unity is the strength and it is the power. You take one stick and you may be able to break it into two pieces or few pieces very easily. But if you were to take few sticks together, it will be very difficult for you to break it. Unity is the strength. And we have to be united and we have to be strong as Buddhists. If you want to follow the Dhamma, and if you want to make this Dhamma known to the world, human beings make ropes using small threads. Some of those ropes they make, we used to tie strong elephants, and even the elephants cannot break them. But if you were to take one string of them, you can easily break them. But once hundreds and thousands of strings put together, even a mighty elephant cannot break it. That is the unity, friends. So when each and every one of us, once we united together, get together, with a common understanding, with the vision of moving forward to propagate the Dhamma, there is always a happy gathering, a happy congregation, a united congregation. That's what we want. Once there lived a group of birds in a forest. This group of birds used to fly from place to place in the forest, looking for the food. And suddenly there arose a drought. There was no rain for a long period of time, and the birds found it difficult to find the food. So one day, this group of birds, they decided to go to another part of the forest, which is not their territory, to look for the food. Now, while they are flying over in the sky, they could see in the middle of the forest there was some grain spread. And some of these birds, having seen the grains, they said, "Hey, look at below. There is some grains, there's some food. Let's go and eat them." But the leader bird said, "Be careful. Do not be hurry. And think very carefully. Because in the middle of the jungle, it's impossible to have this kind of grains spread. Perhaps it can be a bird trap." But the other bird said, "If we were to listen to you, then of course we had to starve. And who cares you?" And some of the birds started to go down. But no choice, the rest of the birds, including the leader, had to go down. What happened? While they were eating the grains, the bird hunter came, and they were all caught up in the net. Once they are caught up in the net, and they are so terrified, and they started arguing with each other. They all pointed out to the bird who suggested to go down and eat the grains. "You are the one who suggested to go down. That is why we are all in trouble." And they started to cry, and they started to weep, and they started to argue with each other. And now the bird hunter is coming nearer. At this particular point, the leader bird, who is our Bodhisattva in his former life, and he started to say, "Stop crying, stop lamenting, stop arguing. Be strong, be united. Otherwise we are going to be perished. So let's be united. Let's fly together, and let's carry this net. And let's carry this net to a top of a tree, and then we can escape." At that moment, all the birds listened to him. They all together fluttered the wings. They carried the nest and went to a top of a tree and left the net over there, and one by one they escaped. Friends, this story is very important. Usually, it depicts typical human nature. As long as everything goes smoothly, everything is perfect. But once something happened, then they started to argue, pinpoint. "You are the one who make this mistake," or "so and so is the one who make the mistake." So in this way they started to argue. They started to attack each other using the words. Well, friends, each and every human being, whenever we do something, we have a way of justifying. So whoever is right or wrong, and each and every one of them, they have their way of justifying their actions. So no point of arguing about it now. And it is already done, and what is needed now is coming together and moving forward. We human beings, we have got equal capacity to destroy and as well as to build up. So what is done is done. And what is there for us? To be united and move forward Why it is so? Because united Buddhists can bring so much peace and happiness to the world. That's why we have to be united. When the Buddhists are united, they practice the Dhamma together. They make the Dhamma known to the world. And when they practice the Dhamma and make the Dhamma known to the world, friends, they are bringing so much peace and happiness to everyone. Buddha talks about 4 kind of factors that leads to happiness. Sukho buddhanang uppado, sukha saddhamma desana, sukha sanghassa samaggi, samagganan tapo sukho. So you heard the term sukho or sukha. The word sukha means happiness. So the first factor leads to tremendous happiness of human beings is Sukho buddhanang uppado. A rising of a Buddha in the world is happiness. Once Buddha rose in the world, he made this Dhamma known to the world, and he brings so much peace, happiness to uncountable number of sentient beings. Sukho saddhamma desana. The Buddha made the Dhamma which leads to peace and happiness from the right beginning to the end. Buddha talks about unity. He talks about peace. He talks about happiness. So this Dhamma leads to perfect peace and happiness. Sukha sanghassa samaggi. Unity of Sangha is a happiness. Here Sangha in general terms mean community. So community is included monks, nuns and lay followers of the Buddha. So in general term, what it means by Sangha is monks, nuns and male and female lay disciples. But in strict sense, you can narrow down this term to monks and nuns alone. So here it means all the community of monks, nuns and the lay people. So united Buddhists is a happiness. The united Buddhists bring happiness to the world. Samagganang taposukho. Spiritual practice of those who are united is a great happiness. So friends, this is the reason that we have to be united. It is because it's only when we are united we become strong. And it's only when we are strong we can practice the Dhamma and we can propagate this Dhamma for the well-being and happiness of multitudes. So here, for the sake of the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, that we have dedicated our life as Buddhists. And if it is so, it is our duty that we should be able to forget and forgive and let go the grudges and forget our personal differences and come together with the common understanding and with common intention and with sole intention of practicing the Dhamma and making this Dhamma known to the world. And if you fail to do this, friends, then as a Buddhist, you fail to uphold the teachings of the Buddha. And if you fail to do this, friends, as a member of Buddhist fellowship, you fail to uphold the precious name of this society. And Buddhist fellowship has done a wonderful service to Singapore Buddhist community. Remember it. And we need to carry on it. So no matter what happens and happened, and there's nothing for us to argue about it, and it's already done. But now what we have to do, we have to unite again as the Buddhist fellowship, and we must carry on the noble service that we carried out so far. Now, friends, I would like to spend a little bit of time again to emphasize the teachings of the Buddha in unity. How did the Buddha encourage unity? One day, his personal attendant, Venerable Ananda. He approached the Buddha and he uttered these words. Lord, the Venerable Sir, I think half of the spiritual life depend on noble friendship. This is what Venerable Ananda said. He said, Lord, I think half of the spiritual life depend on the noble friendship. Buddha said, Ma hewang Ananda, Ma hewang. Do not say that, Ananda. Do not say that. Not only half of the holy life, but whole of the holy life, in 100% of the holy life, depend on noble friendship, noble companionship, and noble camaraderie. So here, friends, the Buddha says it totally depends on the community. As long as we are united, and then we can practice the Dhamma. And once we are united, we can make this Dhamma known to the world. Throughout thousands of years, friends, Buddhist monks and nuns and lay leaders, with mutual understanding, they together propagated the Dhamma, together preserved this Dhamma, together made this Dhamma known to the world. The ordained disciples of the Buddha, monks and nuns, they depend on lay disciples for their material needs. And the lay disciples, they depend on the community of monks and nuns for their spiritual needs. With mutual understanding and with mutual respect towards each other, they together propagate the Dhamma. So friends, we must carry on this noble act of sharing the Dhamma and propagating the Dhamma under the flag of the Buddhist fellowship. Well, Buddha dedicated throughout his life to bring peace and happiness. He united those who are divided, and he stopped the war. And if you observe his life very carefully, we come across in many occasions he intervened the wars and he stopped the wars. Once, two groups of tribes and their kings and leaders, they were ready to fight over the water of the river Rohini. And Buddha appeared over there and asked from those generals who are ready to kill each other, what is more important? The water that runs through this river or the blood that runs through your body? Of course, they said, Venerable Sir, the Lord, the blood that runs through the body is more precious than the water. He said, in that particular case, why do you all ready to shed the blood in the name of the water? Why don't you be united and share the water together? After his passing away, and the many kings, they wanted to possess the relics for themselves. Over this issue, they were ready to go for the war. At that particular moment, one wise man stood up and uttered these words. Sunantu bontu mama eka vakyang amhaka buddhu ahu kantivado. Lords, kings, let me tell you one sentence. Let me remind you that our Buddha dedicated for the peace. That much was enough for them to settle the quarrels. Buddha throughout his life united the people. He encouraged his disciples, monks and nuns and lay people to be united. He says, Samagga sammodamana avivadamana ki rodiki bhuta anyamanyanam piechakko hi sampasanta viharate. He said, Samagga, be united, live in concord. Sammodamana, with mutual understanding and with mutual respect towards each other. Avivadamana, do not argue. Do not dispute with each other. Kiro the Kibuta, blending like milk and water. Anyamanyanang Piechakkuhi Sampasanta Viherata. Live with together, looking at each other with compassionate eyes, with kind eyes, not with the eyes full of hatred, anger, and cruelty. So that is the advice of the Buddha, friends. Buddha always talk about forgiving and forgetting. So friends, if you were to uphold the noble teachings of the Buddha, and we had to be united and move forward. In the time of the Buddha, in the monastery of Goshitarama, they arose this problem. There were two groups of monks. One group of monks, they specialize the doctrine, philosophy. The other group of monks, they specialized Vinaya, the discipline, the rules and regulations. Both group of monks were ordinary monks. What happened one day, a monk who belonged to the group of philosophy went to the toilet. Having finished his business in the toilet, having cleaned himself, washed up himself, he left a little bit of water in the bucket. Now, after that, another monk went to the washroom. And that monk comes from the group of the monastic code of ethics, rules and regulations. And he went there and happened to see a little bit of water is left in the bucket. And according to the accepted norms, and that is not right. And the rule is, once you use the water, you must finish it up. You must turn the bucket or that vessel upside down for the sanitary purpose. Then there will not be mosquitoes breeding, or there will not be, that's for the good health or sanitary purpose. So taking this point, he came back and said, so and so went to the washroom, and that is how he behaved. They are not following the rules and regulations. They are not following accepted norms and forms. So he started to argue. So now, this simple incident which happened and create a big argument. So two groups of monks, those who follow the school of philosophy and those who follow the school of the discipline. And both group of monks start arguing about it. And then it went on and on few days, and it spread among the lay people. So lay people also came to the picture. So we support this group of monks. And one lay group of people, they supported those who follow the philosophy school. Another group of followers, the same village, they supported the other group of monks. So not only monks were divided, but even the lay people were divided. Then the Buddha appeared. Buddha appeared and he said, he advised them to forget what happens and carry on their practice. And he said, this is not a big thing and it's already over. And what is important now is not to argue about it, but to move forward, not to make such mistake in time to come. Let's take this as a lesson. Isn't that what we have to do? We always learn the lessons. So take it as a lesson. And we learn the lesson and move forward. So the monks, they did not agree. So one of the monks said, Buddha, you mind your own business. We will settle this issue. What happened? Buddha said, well then, you all mind your own. You all settle your dispute. And he, without telling anyone, even to his attendant, he went to the forest. The forest of Paraleya, which is very famous. And he went there and he spent 3 months of rainy seasons there, and he did not come back. Now what happened? and Buddha is no more in the city. So it is spread to the king's court, to the ministers, and kings came to know, and all the other people came to know. And these monks who are disputing, these monks who do not know how to live in Concord, they chase away the Buddha from the monastery. So all the lay people, they were so angry. Why? It is because of you all that Buddha left. So what did the lay people do? They stopped giving foods and drinks to the monks and nuns, whoever. Then of course, Venerable Ananda, behalf of all the monks, went to the Buddha and asked the Buddha to come back. Which Buddha, of course, out of great compassion, he came back. But once he come, and all the monks are united again. So even though we see that here Buddha's strategy of solving the issue, because he knew that's the right injection, that's the right solution for it. So friends, perhaps as Buddhists, as Buddhist leaders, if we cannot be united, and there will be a big price for us to pay. For the simple reason, because we are divided, and then we will collapse. And that is the danger for all the Buddhists. So friends, that is why we have to be united as Buddhists. Now, before I end up this talk, I also would like to spend a little bit of time to discuss why some Buddhist societies progress or decline. What is the cause of downfalls of Buddhist societies? Or generally speaking, what is the causes of downfall of the Buddhists? A deity came to the Buddha and asked this question from the Buddha. Venerable Sir, can you please tell me what is the cause of downfall of a man? Why men downfall? Why do they going downward? What are the causes of downfall? So here Buddha gave a number of reasons in a list of downfall of a man. So here term man is a general term to mean human in kind. And this sutta is named Parabhava Sutta, the discourse on downfall. And over there he said, Suijano bhavang hoti, suijano parabhavo. It's easy to understand who is progressing, and it is easy to understand who is declining, downfalling. Dhamma kamo bhavang hoti, dhamma desi parabhavo. Those people who uphold the Dhamma and they progress. Those who do not uphold the Dhamma, deviate from Dhamma, they will downfall. So friends, we have seen many Buddhist societies flourish, come into popularity and do wonderful services. After some period of time, we also have seen some of those societies decline, fall back. When we analyze very carefully, among many reasons that cause downfall of a Buddhist society, one of the reasons can be sometimes, perhaps, deviating from true Dhamma. I'm not saying fellowship has done this. I'm generally sharing the information of according to the Buddhist point of view, and some of the Buddhist societies decline because they do not uphold the Dhamma accurately. Friends, as Buddhist organizations, do we need money? Do we need power? Do we need popularity? No need. Friends, we need money. Without money, what can you do in Singapore? Without money, what can you do in cosmopolitan cities today? So there's no any argument, friends. We need money. We need wealth. But why do we need wealth? Why do we need money? Because to run these kind of centers, to provide you electricity, this aircon, these facilities, foods and drinks, to facilitate the people to practice the Dhamma, to learn the Dhamma, to make this Dhamma known to the world. We need money. There's no any argument it. So the purpose of achieving the wealth is again to propagate the Dhamma. So money is not our ultimate goal, but money is a tool, a mean, a way for our ultimate goal of propagating the Dhamma. Do we need power? Yes, we need the power. But for what? Power itself is not our ultimate goal. Why do we need the power? Power is to propagate the Dhamma, to make this Dhamma known to the world. We use various kind of powers, economic powers, or the human powers, or many such kind of, any kind of powers. And we can use for the sole intention of propagating the Dhamma, to make this Dhamma known to the world. Do we need popularity, marketing? Yes, we need. We need popularity. But for the purpose of propagating the Dhamma. So friends, as Buddhist organizations, we need wealth, power, popularity. But why do we need them? It is to propagate the Dhamma. But suppose, friends, any organizations, any individuals seek wealth, power, popularity as ultimate goal, and their purpose of achieving them itself, or it is the ultimate goal, and then that can be a downfall of any kind of Buddhist society. Why it is so? Because then your ultimate goal become wealth, power, popularity. So when your ultimate goal become wealth, power, popularity, then you increase your greed, attachment. Then of course with this comes delusion, hatred, ill will. Then we are stuck in the mud. And we do not see the purpose of having these instruments with us. So that can be one of the reasons among many other reasons of Buddhist societies why they decline. Remember, I will emphasize again, I'm not bringing up this point regarding Buddhist fellowship alone. Do not misinterpret me. So I'm telling in generally, and these are the causes of some of the Buddhist societies, why they downfall, and we can see it. Sometimes Buddhist societies, organizations can fall down because they go to the extremism. Buddha says there are 4 extremisms that Buddhist leaders should not subscribe. What are these 4 extremisms? Chanda, dosa, bhaya, and moha. What is chanda? Here, favoritism. Buddhist leaders should not take any decisions because of favoritism to this person or that person, or to this team or that team. Favoritism make you blind. So, if any Buddhist leader or any Buddhist society were to take any decisions, because I like this person, so I take this decision. I like that group, so I take this decision. So here, friends, favoritism. You do not analyze, scrutinize very carefully. Your base to take the decision is chanda, favoritism. So we should avoid favoritism, but we must scrutinize, analyze very carefully, independently, using our common sense, then we must decide. So Buddha says, do not take any decisions being an extreme of chanda, favoritism. So avoid this. And once you are in favoritism, you will not see the reality. Second extreme, the Buddha said, dosa. Dosa here means opposition of favoritism, hatred. I do not like. I do not like so and so, so I do not like his decision. I do not like this group or that group, so whatever the suggestions they are bringing, I don't like. So your base of you are voting, or base of liking or disliking, base of your decision based on hatred. Simply I don't like so and so, or this group or that group, so I do not support, or I do not like it. So this is again, you went to the extreme of dosa. Number 3, extremism. Bhaya, fear. I have so much fear towards so and so, or towards that group, and so I take this decision. So Buddha says, do not take any decision out of fear. Buddhist leaders, they must be very brave, and they must take the decisions not out of fear, but having considered the facts very carefully, analyze it very carefully, with free mind, with balanced mind. So we should not take any decisions out of fear. Number 4, moha. Out of ignorance, out of blind faith. Because we are blind, we are ignorant, and we decide this or that. But before we decide, we need to analyze, scrutinize, and carefully investigate. So friends, Buddha says for the Buddhist leaders to avoid these 4 extremes when they take the decisions. Avoid extremism, avoid hatred, and don't take decisions because of hatred or because of you like this or that. Or avoid fear and avoid ignorance. So when you avoid all these 4 extremes, then you will take the right decisions for the sake of the Dhamma, for the happiness of the majority. Then Buddha said, there are 4 principles of benevolence that Buddhist leaders must uphold. What are these 4? They are known as dana, peyavacca. Then the dana here means generosity. Dana simply does not mean only giving away your foods and drinks and requisites and your material need. Dana here means dedication. Buddhist leaders must dedicate, and they must be generous. They must be generous with their time. So they must be ready to dedicate their time. They must be generous with their skills and capacities, and they must dedicate generously for the well-being and happiness of multitude. This is called dana. Peyavacca means pleasant speech. Buddhist leaders, they must uphold pleasant speech. No matter how clever and smart are you, if you do not know how to communicate well, how to use your words well, then again you won't be successful as a society. So the leaders must have pleasant speech. Here, pleasant speech, they must avoid telling lies and dedicate for the truth. They must avoid speaking harshly, rudely, but speak pleasantly, politely. They must avoid speaking the way to divide the people, but they must speak such a way to unite the people. And they must speak in such a way, meaningful, fruitful words at right time, at right moment. So these are the words what you mean by pleasant speech, peyavacca. Then the third one is attacharya, means the Buddhist leaders must dedicate overall well-being and happiness of multitude. So they must take the decisions for the happiness of majority. They must dedicate for the happiness and well-being of majority. So here they have to be very wise to take the right decisions for attacharya, for the benefit of multitudes. Then of course the fourth one is samanatata, equality. And here again, avoiding the four extremism, which I just mentioned. Favoritism, or hating, or fear, or delusion. When you avoid all of these extremism, and when you maintain yourself as a person who upholds the righteous principle of equality, and then you are suitable and you can lead. So those people who are Buddhist, they must avoid these four extremisms, and they must uphold these four type of factors that leads to progress. Then friends, there are 7 principles that leads to unity. Buddha taught these 7 principles to the kings of Vajji. So Vajji kings, in fact, they were following oligarchy system. So oligarchy system is somewhat similar to modern parliamentary system. So in ancient India, they had somewhat similar to modern parliamentary system. So their chief was elected by the community for the council. So they are like council leaders. So Buddha gave 7 principles for the council leaders to uphold. So as long as these 7 principles are upheld by the council leaders, the Buddha said the country will be united and the country will be prosperous. But once you break up these principles, and that is the path that you are declining. So as Buddhists, when we talk about progressing and declining of the societies, maybe it is important for us to learn these 7 factors in very nutshell. Number 1, the Buddha said the number 1 principle that the council leaders must uphold is regular meetings. You must meet regularly, and you must decide in the meetings, not outside of the meeting. So whatever the decisions that you take for the sake of your country or the community, and must be decided in the meeting. So this is number 1 principle. So as Buddhist organizations, and we also must uphold, if we were to uphold this, this is a great achievement. So we must have regular meetings, and the decisions must be taken in the meeting with the approval of the people, not outside of the meeting. Number 2, meet as a team, work as a team, disperse as a team. This is the second rule. It means we are united. We work as a team. We meet as a team. And when we disperse, when we go home, also we go as a team. It means not as a team go home together, means we are united and going out from the council room to our homes with united mind. So when we meet, we are united, and when we work, we are united, and when we are dispersed, when we are alone, still we are united. This is number 2. Number 3, again, the Buddha says the council members, they must follow the rules and regulation of the country exactly without breaking them. So here, for modern aspect, if it is a Buddhist society, and what it means here, constitution. You must follow your constitution and must not go against for it. For the Vajji kings, Buddha said, follow the rules of the country. And for the Buddhist societies, what it means, rules means the constitution. So as long as council members, they uphold themselves to this constitution, that is a fact to lead to progress. Number 4, the Buddha said, be submissive to your elders. Here the term submissive should not be taken in a negative way. What it means, have respect and follow the leadership. There is a system established. and then we must follow. In your company, there is a system established in working world. And if you are not following that system, then everything will go upside down. Everything will go haywire. So you must follow the system. So here you follow the hierarchy, because that is what is accepted. And in any government or any organizations, and we need to have it. Number 5, the Buddha said to the Vajji kings, respect the women and do not discriminate them. But this special rule was given by the Buddha to Vajji kings because in ancient India, in fact, and it was male-dominant society, and many women were not respected. So Buddha specifically gave this rule to Vajji kings, and underlying meaning of it, not only respecting women and protecting them, underlying meaning of it is equality of gender. Men and women are equal, must give equal right in council members, or in a country, or in a society. This is number 5. Equal right for everyone. Number 6, he said, practice religious customs. It means citizens in the country, and they are given the religious freedom to practice their religions. And they are not discriminated. So equal religious freedom is given. Because religion was the base for power in ancient time. But here in Vajji kingdoms, and not a religion was discriminated. Each and every religion was given due place, like Singapore, and given freedom and equality of the religious freedom. So being a Buddhist society, of course, we must uphold our Buddhist practices and principles. And of course, we must not go beyond that limit to discriminate the others. And this is number 6. Number 7, we must respect the religious teachers. So these are the 7 principles of cordiality. In Mahaparinibbana Sutta, we come across the chief minister of Emperor Ajatasattu, Magadhan king. He wanted to attack Vajji kingdom, and he was preparing for the war. The chief minister Vassakara visited the Buddha, and in his conversation, the Vassakara, the chief minister, said, "The Lord, our king, was planning to attack Vajjis because they were preparing to conquer whole area, and they wanted to create a vast empire." So Buddha at this particular moment addressed Venerable Ananda and said, "Ananda, do Vajji kings still follow the 7 principles of cordiality?" So the Venerable Ananda said, "Yes, Venerable Sir, they are following these 7 principles." Then Buddha said, "As long as they follow these 7 principles, I do not see any mighty kings on the earth who can defeat them." And that's true. And as long as they followed these 7 principles, and they could not be defeated. But unfortunately, they could not uphold 7 principles. And once they could not uphold 7 principles, they were divided. Once they divided, and the other kings attacked them and totally destroyed them. So friends, why I said this again? If you are not going to be united, and the danger will be much more greater. And the danger is not only to us who are here, but to the community of Buddhists in Singapore. Why it is so? Buddhist fellowship has widespread and tremendous power, and they have built it up. Thanks to those past leaders and whoever dedicated, and each and every one of you. And it is collective success. And you have come to this stage, and now what is our future? Are we going to argue and re-argue, and then are we going to be divided? Or we forget and forgive, let go, and learn the lessons from the past, and united and move forward. And the decision is up to each and every one of you here. So friends, I wish Buddhist fellowship will remain following the Dhamma, and they will not deviate from Dhamma. I wish the members of the Buddhist fellowships, and they will follow the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha as their ideals, but not any personal cult or lineage. I wish Buddhist fellowship will stand themselves in the solid ground of Dhamma strongly, and then respect each and every Buddhist tradition and give due respect to other traditions as well. I wish the Buddhist fellowship, the SCO members, volunteers, and the ordinary members, and everyone will be united and uphold the Dhamma, and they will work for the well-being and happiness of multitudes, for the benefit of many. So friends, may the fellowship of the Buddhist remain in the world for the benefit of many. And may the sublime Dhamma flourish in the world for the happiness of many. So this much is enough as a talk. And if you have got any questions, we can spend a little bit of time for a Q&A.
So let's rejoice. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So thanks for the wonderful talk and well wishes. So any questions? Any questions on the talk?
Thank you, Bhante, for the interesting talk. A very general question. In this unity in community is a very ideal, very noble thing, very good thing to have. But if you look at the history of unity, in fact, most of it is going the other way, disunity. At a global level, you can see country breaking up, United Nations, Soviet Union breaking up, even India, Pakistan, Bangladesh broke up. That's at the global level, and even at the lower level, at the religious level, they start to break up. And even at the Buddhist fellowship level, we have some sense of disunity. So why is it like that instead of having more unity, but end up, in fact, disunity will creep into every aspect of community?
One day, a Brahmin, he came to the Buddha and asked this question: Venerable Sir, the Lord, why do Khatyas, those kings and ministers, why do they kill each other? Why they are not united? Buddha said, it's because of craving for power, craving for wealth, craving for popularity. And that is why they are not united. And because of that, they want to have their own wealth, power, popularity. So of course they kill each other. They divide it into groups. Then he asked, Venerable Sir, what about lay people? Those householders, why do they quarrel with each other? Why they are not united? Again, Buddha said, it is because of greed for power, wealth, and popularity, to gratify sense faculties. Because of greed, hatred, and delusion, they disunite. They divide into groups. They fight with each other. Then he asked another question. Well, Venerable Sir, why those religious leaders, monks and nuns and the other religious leaders, those who renounce the life, they renounce the life, and why do they also not united? Why do they quarrel with each other? Here Buddha said, it is because of their attachment to views. Their attachment to views, and they cannot get rid of their different views. And based on these views, they divide into groups. So if you see the history of Buddhism, you can see in the time of the Buddha, there was a united Sangha. The term united Sangha is a relative term because it's still there was a pocket, small group of monks. We have monks of Chabbagye, the group of six monks. They were always very rebellious. They were always going against. When Buddha make one rule, they break it. Then Buddha make another rule, they also break it. So they always look for the loopholes. So even in the time of the Buddha, there were such monks and nuns as well. So, but generally speaking, we had a united Sangha. And as I just mentioned, in the monastery, over this simple issue of leaving the bit of water, also monks divided. So, when I say the united Sangha is in fact a relative, but generally speaking, we can say it is well united because the unity was maybe 98%. Maybe only 2% those few monks were misbehaved. But after passing of the Buddha, around within 100 years later, onward, we can see the division of the monks. But based on what? Different views of the doctrine and discipline. And it went up until they divided into 18 groups within 300 years. And later stage, of course, many divisions came across. Some of those died off, and at the moment we have 3 major schools, Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana. But in each and every tradition, there are a lot of subgroups. So that is what I mean, friends. Here, I wish Buddhist fellowship will uphold the true Dhamma, and they will stand on the solid ground of Dhamma, and they will respect to other traditions as well, without discriminating any tradition, but they follow the true Dhamma. So means open up to all the Buddhist traditions, but you know the true Dhamma, and you will allow true Dhamma to be propagated. So each and every Buddhist traditions, and they are having true Dhamma. And they, of course, their ways of propagating their language, their customs, there are a lot of differences, but when you uphold these principles, you still can invite the monks from various Buddhist traditions, and you can let them propagate the Dhamma, so as long as you uphold this. So friends, as you said, I believe that you understood the reason of it again. Greed, hatred, delusion. Greed for power, wealth, and popularity. Attachment to views. And these are the causes of disunity. But I had to tell you something else here. Even though Buddhists are divided into many groups, and it is because of sublime Dhamma, which based on great compassion and wisdom, based on these differences, Buddhists so far have not shed a single drop of blood. And Buddhists do not go to the extent to kill each other. Have you heard any war between Theravada or Mahayana or Vajrayana? Have you seen any war between Buddhist societies? Yes, maybe verbal. I heard last there were verbal wars, yes, possible. But they do not go to the extent to kill each other, not like many other religions. If you want to look at the other religions, some of the religions, I don't want to label them, you will understand. People who belong to same religions, same concept, they kill each other. Every day, hundreds and thousands of people are massacred throughout the history. But we do not see such a thing. Why? Even though Buddhists, they divide into groups based on their different the differences of views and attachment, and due to many reasons, but they still uphold the righteous Dhamma, which is based on great compassion and wisdom. So still we can see the unity in diversity. We have diversity in many groups, but still we have unity. But here, as fellowship, and let's try our best to be united and maintain our unity, and then we can, like you all did, a wonderful, great service to Singapore Buddhist community, and you can carry on that to the future. So I believe that you got the answer to the question.
I think due to time constraint, maybe let's put ourselves in Anjali position to pay respect to Bhante. And remembering the teachings of Bhante, understanding differences, working with differences, and stay united. So first bow.
Sabbitiyo vivajjantu sabbarogo vinassetu mate bhavattvantarayo sukhi digayuko bhava.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So please remain in Anjali.